I came here as a very skinny Kenyan boy with nothing to his name.
He landed in the US with nothing but a dream and ended up a celebrated Kenyan-American businessman and leader in Minnesota, running multiple healthcare-related businesses. Yes, Syed Abdullahi shares lessons on entrepreneurial success abroad.
The principles of success are universal, whether you're in Kenya or the US or anywhere.
This, as more and more people continue to enjoy the fruits of investing back home through King's developers.
King's has been in the industry for 2 decades plus. It was one of the best decisions we've made.
My name is Michael Zimanji, and Daring Abroad starts now.
Yeah, hello there. I know you love this series called Daring Abroad, and we continue to dare across the world, literally speaking. My name is Alex Chamada, and I'm in Minnesota. Guess who I've met? Yes, Syed Abdullahi. Habari yako?
Yes, salama kabisa.
Yeah, Rambo.
Alex, karibu Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm sure he may be familiar to many of you. Yes. Syed is a Kenyan-American businessman and leader in Minnesota. But maybe tell us first, where are we exactly? Minnesota is big. In Minneapolis.
We are a suburb of Minneapolis in a place called Eden Prairie, Minnesota. We are what maybe Kenyans would say, if you are Minneapolis would be Nairobi. This would be something like Runda or a Karen. So we are on the outskirts of the main city in Minneapolis.
Yes.
And we're in a state called Minnesota, which is in the Midwest, which is in the middle of the country.
Okay.
So most Kenyans don't know that the US is almost a continent.
It's a continent,
states.
yes, yeah.
It's like 50 Kenyas together. So it's, if you were to look at Africa, it's almost like USA would be the USA of Africa combined, because we have 54 countries, 50 states.
Yes.
Minnesota would be more like in the middle of Africa, so somewhere in upper central, somewhere maybe past Sudan, near Egypt, between the north and the south.
Okay.
So we are in Midwest. Our neighboring states are Wisconsin and then Illinois. So you go through Wisconsin, you go to Illinois. On the other side, we are bordering the 2 Dakotas, North Dakota, South Dakota, and we are bordering Iowa.
Okay.
So those are our bordering states.
Wow,
you're in the middle of America right now.
So quickly, tell us, what do you do in America?
So as you said, I'm an entrepreneur. I came here as a very skinny Kenyan boy with nothing to his name.
Skinny?
Skinny, very skinny.
When was this and what?
99.
How did 99. You come?
I came here as a graduate student. I came here right from college and I came to Boston. So I came, very skinny guys, you know, with some fundraisings from relatives, not a lot of money, and with a lot of big dream and a big ambition. So I came to Boston on a cold winter night without winter clothes. I had never seen snow. So I came at Logan Airport in Boston. I went to Boston University. I was picked up by a professor there with his wife. And the first time I had ever seen shoveling of snow was in Boston. I didn't have any clothes.
That was quite an experience.
I was wearing a jacket
but
like
you are not warned and prepared?
No. I was told...
You were just eager to go to America.
I was eager to come to America.
Bora umeland.
Kabisa. I didn't care about snow. You know, it took me 3 days later to find what's called undergarments, you know, the things you wear under the clothes.
The thermo,
yeah, there's a place used to be called Filene's Basement where you get discount jackets. But anyway, I came for school. I was thankfully I was lucky enough to go to Boston University.
What did you study?
So I started from medicine. So my background is in clinical medicine and family medicine. But I did a postgraduate training in business and public health. So I'm also a master's in public health and international health. I have a master's in executive MBA in healthcare. I also have a number of postgraduate certificates in non-profit management. I'm also an alum of the Tax School of Business, TAC Amos at Dartmouth, the executive business program. And I have an MBA from the University of Tennessee and other. But I'm also an entrepreneur. We found a need and I found a niche.
First, after your studies, did you people begin by working? Did you?
Yes, I worked.
Were you employed at some point?
I worked at a place called I worked at the Hennepin County, which is the biggest county, and I was at the community health department. I worked at a clinic called Smiley's Clinic, doing an externship in family medicine. I worked at Fairview, and then I also started a company doing my work in the healthcare system. And basically, my core competence is healthcare management and health policy, okay, and designing systems for population health, not individual health, but how to design population health. And so my big dream at the beginning was to do this work and probably end up somewhere at the UN or WHO and do population health in Africa. But what happened is that Africa found me here. We found populations, cohorts of immigrants in the US, sizable enough needing healthcare here in the US, that the idea of going back to working for the UN or WHO wasn't that much of a need when you could do healthcare here in the US for immigrants and refugees. So I started a company, very modest company, back in 2006. My first entity I formed was a company called Public Health Solutions. And I thought I would keep my day job, and I'll consult on the side. Because I started getting invited as a keynote speaker at conferences. I was getting invited by medical insurance companies to help them design healthcare systems for immigrant populations, the entire spectrum, not just Africans, Syrians, Iraqis, Nepalese, Armenians, anybody who did not come from a US system was challenged by how to navigate the US healthcare system. It's profoundly different from any other country.
So you found a need.
I found a niche here. I found a need and I found a niche.
A niche, yeah.
And so, the company ended up becoming a company that owned what's called adult corporate foster care, homes where you take care of patients with physical or mental illnesses. I actually ended up selling that company after 3 years, after successfully 11 locations, successful acquisition. Then I started a company called Language Bank, which is one of the largest, what you would call a triage of linguistic needs in healthcare. So if you call a company like Blue Cross today, which is a large insurance company, and you spoke Spanish or Pashto or Telugu or Swahili, I'm the company that connected that individual with a bilingual person, a rep person to help them, and then schedule their medical appointments, schedule their transportation appointment. So we did business in 150 languages. Before COVID, we were close to about $8 million in gross revenue in one company. And then that company just got acquired in August of 22 by a DC-based company.
Okay.
Then my third entity was a company called Pro Healthcare, which is how to deliver healthcare outside a hospital or a clinical setting. So we do post-discharge care. So we do things like infusion therapy, in wound care. So going to the homes to take care of patients. We have a little over 700 caregivers, LPNs, RNs, what's called direct care staff, and unskilled caregivers who are trained by nurses. We have teams of nurses, registered nurses who train them. And we have about 700 of those employees. Then I also co-own a company called Transit Trip, which is what is called a non-emergency medical transportation company. So we move patients. Again, in the US, a lot of the patients who have Medicaid have benefits for transportation. So if you saw that we don't miss doctor's appointments or miss visits like therapy because of having someone being indigent and not having a personal access to a personal vehicle. So we move children with autism, children with cerebral palsy, individuals with mental illness, people who are elderly. We move them from point to point. And we do close to about 400 to 500 patient encounters a day of moving patients for insurance companies. But besides that, I also give back. So I serve on a number of boards. I just recently finished a 5-year stint of being on the Minnesota Children's Museum, in which we helped the museum with a significant expansion. I serve on Pillsbury United Community, which is a large nonprofit that helps people with housing and access to food, and helps communities that are challenged. I serve on a group called the YMCA of Minneapolis. I'm on the board. So I do quite a bit of community work, especially in the last 3 years, because I was also in Kenya. Not as much as I have done in the last 15 years. I was probably one of the most notable Kenyans, even just getting people, you become almost like a mini social worker, because when you're successful, people call on you on everything.
I know.
Getting young people out of immigration jail, helping raise money to take bodies back home, in hosting our Kenyan leaders when they come, I was that person for at least a decade and a half. Was a dedicated,
Where do you get the time?
Well,
You're an entrepreneur,
you
you are
know,
busy
between-
running companies, and that's quite admirable.
Thank you very much. You know, Alex, what you I'm sure you've learned in your business.
Yeah.
There's a book written by a guy called Michael Gladwell called The Outlier. It's a fascinating book. One of the things he says for you to become an expert in anything, you either need 10 years or 10,000 hours, whichever comes sooner. Meaning, the more you do this, the lesser time a task would take when you become experienced in doing something. So one of the things I've learned early in my businesses is how to delegate. So as I sit here, there's hundreds of people helping me sit here by doing their work, by doing their jobs, right? I'm a philanthropist, so I used to do a lot in, we've dug a lot of wells. In Ramadan, we give a lot of iftar. We've done Udhiyah, which is during Eid. I serve on a large Muslim non-profit agency that's based in Michigan. That's in 26 countries. That's a little over 20 million NGO. And I'm the only African individual on the board. I've been able to leverage a lot of resources and take them to Kenya. So in Wajir in particular, we've dug a lot of wells. We've given food during the famine. And then, of course, I also invest now in the country. I'm an investor in Kenya. So I own a restaurant on Koinange called Taste of Manhattan.
Yeah,
right
I've
on
seen
Koinange.
it, yes.
And
Well
then,
done. Yeah.
Thank you. Then
Yeah.
I'm doing some farming in a place called Evi, near Nanyuki. So I have a foundation called US Africa Foundation that's helping businesses in Kenya, and also we're also doing something in Rwanda to help scale their businesses. A lot of Africans start businesses.
Yeah.
But because there's no resources the way we have in the US, there's no SBA, there's no SCORE, there's no mentors, there's no business schools that would give you free resources to write a business plan. My goal is to take about 35 to 50 companies in Kenya that are small scale businesses, and about the same probably in Rwanda in the next 3 years. And COVID affected our plan because we started this in 19 and then 2020, COVID hit us, is to find resources for businesses. We're not interested in startups, we're interested in established businesses that are small, and then help them grow to take them to the next level. And so we're interested in teaching them human resources, business plan, strategy execution, team building, access to credit. We want to make them bankable.
So, I mean, the impact of the diaspora quite huge.
Yes.
And I'm glad you people have really embraced us daring abroad. And we are literally part of the diaspora. Many things.
Thank you. No, Alex, I commend you. You're telling a story. You're telling a story that needs to be told. And not only is it inspirational, but it's also building a knowledge base. Because sometimes people misunderstand diaspora. There's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of negative connotations. But there's also a lot of success. And generally people forget that Kenyans are outside the continent and outside the country, mostly for economic or educational reasons, right? They're not wasting their time. Predominantly, majority of Kenyans are in gainful employment or have small businesses, or they're going to school. A lot of Kenyans, there's no community. In fact, I should say most Africans have impressed me in the continent, in the US, from my experience.
Yes.
I look at Ghanaians, Nigerians, Ethiopians, even people from the Somali community, Kenyans. There's no campus I would go in this country and not find a significant cohort of African students.
Wow.
There is no city I would go and not interface with an African.
Wow.
Right? And so it's a very
I'm
it's a very encouraging story.
Yeah. And finally, maybe give you a parting shot. What do you tell the audience?
I want to commend our community here for finding a home away from home. What I would say as an advice is the principles of success are universal. They are the same whether you're in Kenya or the US or anywhere, whether you're in Boston or Botswana or Bombay, whether you're in Minneapolis or Mumbai or Mumias, it's the same. You can almost summarize it on a piece of paper. It's integrity, it's trust, it's honesty, it's building a network, it's building a capacity, it's building a social network. It's not about money. It's about finding people who can share your vision, who can buy into your vision. It's about having integrity. It's about caring about your people and your environment. It's truly the same. Anybody who tries to take a shortcut generally is unlikely to make it. Whether you start a company or you start an NGO or you start a foundation or you start a small business, for it to grow, it can't grow just by you or with yourself. That's the same for Kenya, that's the same for America, that's the same for any country. If you don't have integrity, if you're not caring about others as much as you care about yourself, if you don't want others to gain in your story, they're unlikely to have buy-in. They're unlikely to propel you into success. So my advice is for people to be patient. To be patient. We have a phrase in the Quran that says, Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. It says God is always with those who are patient. Our young people today, everybody wants to drive a Range Rover in nanoseconds. At all cost. Even if it means killing Alex. Right?
I know.
This is shocking. It's shocking. Because 20 years ago, that was not the Kenya I knew.
They
right?
go into depression because they are not able to have what you have, what I have.
Exactly.
They think it can come in a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody wants instant success. Instant gratification. There is nothing like instant gratification.
You have to work for it.
You have to work for it. And you have to be patient. You have to be willing to fail. Number of times. Failure is one of the best things that can happen.
You have to know you are an individual.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And everyone has their day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And so patience is my biggest parting advice, is have patience and have integrity.
Have patience and have integrity.
You'll succeed anywhere.
Wow.
You'll succeed anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Dr. Siad right there in the United States. Time for us to focus back home, and today it is all about what you can get through King's Developers.
I'm Salma Timami. I am a follower of Christ. That is my number one identity. I am a wife, a mother of 3, and I am a professional in the SaaS industry. And I do have a passion for real estate and investing, and I'm one of King's clients. So I have been seeing Kings on social media, specifically on Instagram. That put them on my radar. And then the next time I met them was in the Kenya Home Expo, I believe 1 or 2 years ago. And then the next time I met them that solidified that relationship was at Sitam Karen. They were hosting like an expo for businesses, and I came across Kings. And at that point, one of your sales representatives, Joyce, showed us some of the developments that were coming up, and we were truly interested in King's Orchid. And we actually, that same day, saw the properties. We loved what we saw, and almost immediately put a down payment for the 2 studios that we have now. My husband and I were on a journey to build our real estate portfolio, and we were looking for things that were affordable and with high potential. So with Kings, when we found out that they do have these flexible payments that aligned with our cash flow, we just thought that it was a good match, and at the same time we were also building the portfolio that we currently have right now. The fact that it is situated in a satellite town where there is growing urbanization and a high demand for rental properties, that is the thing that stood out to us. And apart from that, the affordability. We have been searching for real estate properties for a while now. We have seen so many of them, some high quality, some sketchy quality. And when we saw the showroom at Kings that presented how possibly the property that we invested in, how it would look like, we loved the finishing. As a woman, that is just something that I really look into. I loved the finishing, the quality of even something as simple as the doors, the floor. That was one of the solidifying factors for my husband and I. Apart from building our portfolio, we have a vision for the future. For us, it is all about a long-term vision. In the next 10, 15 years, that's what we are looking for. We have invested in a few properties. Some will become Airbnbs specifically for Kings. We are looking at student accommodations. The current property that we have is situated right in the center of Thika Town, and it is a studio apartment. There are universities around, and the sole purpose for this particular investment is student accommodation, just to bring in that passive income.
One thing about King's Developers is that we understand that clients are not the same. Customers have different diverse needs, different diverse interests, different expectations, and one thing's for sure is that we try to meet those expectations. We try to meet those needs. Because I know for sure by the time you're coming to purchase a property, even if it's not a property, even if it's clothes, there's specific things you're looking for. So if you're coming to buy a house, you're looking for something specific. We have residential houses, we have office spaces, we have apartments that are inside Nairobi, and we have apartments outside Nairobi. We have apartments and townhouses in our upcountry market. So you can actually see that we don't really have one formula that we solve for each and every person.
The fact that Kings has been in the industry for 2 decades plus, it was really reassuring, a space where the trust is really important. It was the first thing that we were looking for, something that would be reliable, something trustworthy, and something that would enable us to take that first step to build the future for our young family. The relationship was very professional, open communication. That is something that I really look to. So far of late, we have had, sometimes the salesperson is just looking for a sale. It's just a transaction. But with Kings, it has been a relationship. They keep us updated with their current upcoming, developments and what is to come in the near future. So that has played a role in the relationship, and also keeping us updated about how far the current development is going. I get emails all the time with photos telling us how far it has gotten, and I love that. It is just the open communication, the reliability, and how quick they respond. I don't like when someone takes too long to respond. It's a bit annoying, but the quick response is also something that I really appreciate. We are a young family, we are a young couple, and we already have 3 children, so that also played a major part in it. I mean, right now with the current living situation, everything is a bit pricey, and we have to also start thinking about our future, our children's futures. And when Kings offered the flexible payment and we knew that we could afford it, we just had to go for it. It matched our cash flow, and we were able to repay it within time.
I can tell you for a fact is that Kings Developers will hold your hand and guide you. We want you to be knowledgeable. We want you to understand the effects of buying a house. We want you to understand the consequences of not getting one at the right time. I've always told clients the right time to buy a house is yesterday, because you're able to understand that you're leaving something that is able to cater to you, to the children's children. You can have a resale value of your home. So we guide you and we listen to what you're looking for. And that kind of touch, I believe, you can only find at Kings Developers, because above everything else, you come first.
And right now, we still want to continue that relationship. We are looking at the other developments. My husband and I, we are really interested in building wealth for our family, and real estate was the first thing we thought of. It was one of the best decisions we've made, and the advice that I would give anyone who is looking to begin is to start. Just start with what you have, where you are, and just do your research. Ensure that you are working with reputable companies, and apart from that, do not compare yourselves to other people. Just because you're seeing maybe someone is buying a house in Karen or in Kilimani, don't try and match that. Try and start with what you have and slowly build on that.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show today. On behalf of the team responsible for this week's episode, we say many thanks for watching, and let's do this again next time.